The Makeup of Me is the last one I'll be doing in this series, and it leads me to the Gavin and Stacey Christmas Special, which I was starting this time last year in Barry. So welcome, I'm ALYN WATERMAN, I'm a makeup and hair designer, and I'm talking tonight about the Gavin and Stacey Christmas Special. And the talk is going to be a lot about connections and people I've met along the way and how one job leads to another. And I'm going to say lovely a lot, so just be warned straight away. So my story starts back in 1974 or 75, so if you want to put your laughing emojis on now, that would be a good time. This is where I went to my primary school, 1974-1975, and we had this annual festival called the May Day, and this was the May Queen Festival, and I got to become the escort for two of the parades. So not just once, not twice, I got to hold this wonderful bouquet. But anyway, the Cedar School was also the same place that James Corden went to in Hazelmere and Bucks. So that was my first very early connection. I thought you could have a good laugh at my very early school photos back in 1974-75. Some quite good period hair going on there as well. So, oh, thank you, Jude. Thanks, Joyce. How cute, everybody's saying. Oh, thank you, Christian. Not changed one bit. Still love a sash. But anyway, so that was the first connection really with Gavin and Stacey. And moving on quite a long way now to 1999, where I was on the second series of Queer as Folk, which was filmed in Manchester. Very kindly, Davy Jones, amazing makeup designer, passed on. Hello, Integration. Hi, Sean. Thank you very much for joining me. Passed on the second series of Queer as Folk to me, and it was just the most brilliant series to work on with Russell T Davies, obviously, as the writer, and lovely Charlie Hunnam, Aidan Gillen, Craig Kelly. Just amazing, and lovely Denise Black and Adam Zane and Ken Arrow. They were all part of the team, and it was just a wonderful job to do. So on that job, I was working with a wonderful line producer called Tom Sherry, and he asked me to go on to this new series in Leeds called Fat Friends, which was written by the amazing Kay Mellor. As soon as I kind of got the script for Fat Friends, it was so exciting for me, because it was very nice to be passed on a job like Queer as Folk, because I'd done the first series as an assistant with Lynn Davey and Dave Jones, and then to do the second series, which was a bit shorter. It was just a special. We went to Spain and everything. It was a really lovely way to move up into being a designer. And so anyway, Fat Friends, based in Leeds, written by the wonderful Kay Mellor, who just writes the most incredible characters you could wish for. A lot of the characters that she writes about are all based on people that she knows. So she had a very strong vision about all the way these characters should look. So this is our very first sort of cast picture of all the ladies. And it was all based around a slimming club in Headingley in Leeds. So we've got Catherine Hunt, Mira Sayal, Ruth Jones, Rita May, Gaynor Faye, Janet Dibley, and the wonderful Alison Steadman. I'm just going to show you now as well on my iPad, if I can just get this up. This is my YouTube video of the series, so hopefully you can see this.
Never worn eye makeup before. I love your programmes, David.
Thank you very much.
That's Rebecca's first stone off, everyone. A round of applause, please.
Yes, he's been walking down Coronation Street today.
Was Rita there? Remember your portion sizes. 1 is need, 2 is green.
I just want to take a pill and wake up in the morning. Think.
Please, Jamie, just want to check you're not hurt, and I'll leave you alone.
What did you do this week that was different from last?
I had my stomach pumped.
So there we go, that's Fat Friends. That was series 1 and 2. And we filmed that 2000 was the first series I did, and then I did the second one in 2001. And just an amazing cast and crew to work with. As I said, this is our first cast photo, and here we are on the second the second group. So the series was based around, like I say, a slimming club, and it was very, very forward thinking, I think, really, because all the characters had different reasons for losing weight. Ruth Jones's character was trying to lose weight for her wedding. Alison's character just sort of got a bit lost and she just wanted to look better. Lisa Riley's character was self-harming a lot. The leader, Carol Dibley, her name was Carol, so named Janet Dibley, and she was actually the slimming coach, but she was actually force feeding food. So it was an amazing series and brought up so many sort of poignant topics. And we used to do loads of really amazing flashbacks, and they used to dress up in all sorts of wonderful costumes. So that was our main cast there. And for the first series, Kay just popped in very, very, very briefly that she wanted Ruth to be blonde, and this was sort of like a week before filming, and just to say that sometimes these things do sort of get dropped in sort of last minute. So poor Ruth, I think she's forgiven me now, but we took her to the salon, we made her from dark to quite blonde and put in these extensions which were very much the look at the time. And here we've got a few more pictures in the Slimming Club, and obviously Sheridan Smith with Lisa Riley, and this was actually a hairpiece that we put in. She was playing a really nasty character and she was bullying Lisa's character, and we got to put some scars on her, but to always make sure her sleeves were pulled up so we didn't see any of the scars on there. And obviously there's James and Lisa and the lovely Linda Barron, and we're always in Headingley up there. Really happy memories of that. And I'll just run through some pictures that I've got from on set. This is me and Alison in the makeup van. Just an absolutely wonderful person to work with. Remained a friend ever since then. My very first day of filming, actually, I had Alison in one chair. I think somebody was supposed to come and help me on the first day and they got lost or something. So I had Alison in the first scene, and then Josie Lawrence was in the next scene. And this is Josie Lawrence, who was a very, very famous comedian at the time. She's still working and everything, but she's a good friend of my friend Denise's as well. But we created this wig. I look like a teenager, thanks Joyce. And actually this wig was something that I found from Trenco, but then I sewed in a lot of extra wefts and colours, and I think it's very much based on Sian's look from this life. We were talking about this very sort of stripy hair, so it was a real hair wig. But I kind of put in extra wefts and stuff to give it that stripy look, and we kind of swapped it around. And Josie looks really good on wigs, and she played this character called Julia Fleshman, who was the head of the whole of the slimming world. And actually, we had this thing where we had to move trucks halfway through a job, which is always like really really uprooting it. And I think we were between blocks or something. Anyway, somehow between the move and having this break for prep, the wig went missing. No idea to this day where this wig went. I knew where I'd put it, and when we came back after a couple of days break, the wig wasn't there anymore. So Josie was in like the day after, or maybe a day after that one. So anyway, I had to go and find this other wig, and I literally stayed up all night till about 1 o'clock sewing this wig back into place, which was hard work, but we got there in the end with it. But we were sort of not in continuity with the character, but I was like, that was probably the most scary thing that's happened to me on a job, really, to have a wig just completely vanish on the job. Here's James covered in cake from that scene that you saw on the video, and us in the park as part of that sequence. Obviously, when you're doing scenes like this, you are kind of having to reset all the time with cake. So lovely Suki and Sheila were on my first series, and I remember just having to keep on going in, and we just had cake everywhere. I think the art department had about 10 birthday cakes. So it was an amazing series to work on. And here's lovely Sheila with Ruth. Now this for the second series, we'd actually got Ruth a blonde wig made by Wig Specialities by the wonderful Richard Morby, who's still a very good friend and does amazing wigs. And I didn't realise, but this wig actually ended up becoming the first Nessa wig. Ruth had it for the 4 series of Fat Friends, and they let her keep it because it was just a really lovely wig. But anyway, that actually became Nessa's first wig, which I didn't realise till I worked on the series with them at Christmas, for the Christmas special. But it was really interesting, and we had so much fun. This was for her hen night. This was the hen night behind the scenes, obviously with Ruth and Gaynor, and this girl played Ruth's sister in it, and Mira and Kay. It was really lovely. And then the wedding, is here as well. This was in Headingley. And here we've got, again, connections. Audrey Cook, who was one of the directors on Fat Friends, I've worked with on Brookside, actually, which was my first TV job with Lynn Davey and Dave. And this is Adam Zane here, who was in the first Queer as Folk. So again, really small world. So lucky to work with all the lovely actors, and lovely Jonathan, who was in both series of Queer as Folk, and Sandra Goff, who was Irma Ogden in Coronation Street. So I think those of you who've watched my lives from the very beginning know a lot about my love for Coronation Street and the fact that it brought me to Manchester in the first place. And another character was Jason Merrills, who also in Queer as Folk, and I worked with him in Clocking Off as well. Oh, Sian, she directed some of this live too. Yeah, she's an amazing director, Audrey. She's such a lovely lady, fabulous director. So Jason's character, Kate's character Val, she was looking for love all the time in the series, and she was trying to lose weight to become more attractive to men. And like I say, all these topics are so kind of prevalent these days now. But Kay absolutely nailed everybody's character. You know, they used to. It was a kind of formula back in the noughties, and they still use it now, where they kind of have an ensemble cast, but every episode featured a different character. So it's always really interesting. Anyway, Jason's character was a male escort, and Val hired him to sort of take her to, I think it was some works function or something. So no, that was his work. But anyway, the story is that they fell in love in the end, and they ended up being a couple, which was really lovely. But we had the wonderful Maria McCurlin, where she was one of his clients. And a funny story, we were filming by Leeds Station, and somehow our sound waves got mixed up with the tannoy in the railway station, and the whole scene of them in bed together doing what you can imagine got broadcast across Leeds Station. And Maria's talked about this she's on the Graham Norton show on Radio 2 quite a lot, and she's actually recounted this story before, where actually all of their passion was actually broadcast across Leeds Station for the world to hear. So whoever was travelling that day would have had quite an interesting announcements that day. But the funny things that happened behind the scenes. Anyway, again, lovely Sheridan Smith and Lisa, and Dermot Gavin was one of our guest artists. And I can remember he had to drive in really fast to the garden centre, and I had to find a Dermot Gavin curly wig from somewhere. It's really hard sometimes with stunt doubles. Suddenly they say, oh, by the way, you know, this actor can't drive, so you've got to find something. And actually his hair was quite hard to copy. And bear in mind, we're sort of not so much internet days here, we're kind of finding stuff on the hoof as we can. So that was quite an interesting stunt double wig to find. Again, we used to film a lot of pub scenes together. Again, you know, it's all about the teamwork you've got around us. You know, we had lovely Suki and Sheila, and then Carolyn Cousins did the second series with me, and Sarah Wilson as well. So I had some really great makeup artists working on this scene. And here's one of the lovely writers and Ruth and Yvonne Frankus, who was our producer, who's still a very amazing TV producer and a great friend. Just such a lovely job to work on. So I only managed to do the 2 series because ended up doing Footballers' Wives after that. So it was a choice between doing Fat Friends or Footballers' Wives. So in the end I had to do Footballers' Wives, which was a real shame. There's another big lovely cast photo of everybody. James with Suki and Sheila in our makeup bus. It was quite an old-fashioned bus actually, but I did love it. Had curtains in it and everything, but you kind of make it work. Had carpets on the walls, which is great, but good for pinning things on, but it's kind of a bit snug. Hi Fiona, thank you for joining. And lovely Barbara Martin. This was another sort of fantasy scene. She was in Casualty for quite a few years, but she's such a lovely lady. Here again you've got Josie's wig, which I think that's the second wig actually, to style it a little bit differently because I couldn't find one with the same look. Like I say, goodness knows where that wig went to in the end. Lovely Alison. This is the days of Polaroids, where we took Polaroids for continuity, which we used to get through loads of Polaroids, but we used to take like a few to put up in the van to make it feel quite homely. Lovely Carolyn Cousins and Sarah Wilson, who were on my team. Lovely Kathy Ducker, Sarah, Debs is now a wonderful. Oh, here she is, Debs. Yeah, Debs is now a lovely, amazing jewellery designer. Deborah Beck-Jory, incredible. And when Alison was on the show, she got her OBE from the Queen, which was really exciting. She brought in her OBE to show us, and we put a tiara on her. So just the things you do behind the scenes, which kind of make the day really special. But she is just a wonderful friend, wonderful actress, and doing Fat Friends and meeting Ruth and James and Alison is kind of where the Gavin and Stacey kind of connection started. So that was where I first met all of the guys there, and that was between 2000 and 2002. And I kept in touch with all of them over the years. Ran into Ruth and James in various places, and so leave that there for now. But the next job, which is connected to this, is 20 Things to Do Before You're 30, which was directed by Otto Bathurst, and the producer was Jane Fallon, who's partner of Ricky Gervais. But here we've got Amanda Abington, Georgia, Matt Horn and Chris. This was a series set in Hayes, which was bizarrely up the road from where I used to do Family Affairs, which was a Channel 5 soap. And it was so strange to go back to Hayes. But anyway, me and Matt got on really, really well. Such a lovely, lovely guy. And we had loads of fun on that. And on that job, I had working with me the lovely Leda Schroyer, who is principal and owner of Delamar Academy. And it's been so wonderful. Delamar's been putting on the most wonderful webinars. Sean Miller and so many other artists have been doing some amazing. Nikki Hamby, gosh, how many other people? Raphael, Ella. Trying to remember all the webinars. I've watched most of them. They were just incredible. That's Sean. There's Leda with Amanda Abington with a very long curly hair here, and here we are in the makeup bus. There's me, Georgia. Matt had a black eye at the time for the storyline. Again, yeah, we all got on really well on that job. Lots of friendly, lot of things, and there's Leda on set. We did it at Christmas actually, and there she is doing touch-ups on Amanda on set, and it's Christmas time. And actually, to finish that job, we did a 7-day week, which don't think I've done again since actually. I mean, I've prepped on the 7th day because I've had to catch up with stuff, but we did actually film a 7-day week on that job, and it went out on Channel 4, and it was a great fun series. Only went for again, comedy, very fast and furious. You kind of got to think on your feet a lot, but it was wonderful working with Leda, and just say big thanks and big shout out to Delamar, who I know have started back this week, and good luck to that, because I can see they're doing hairdressing and everything like that, so it's great to see them back open again. And thanks again for all the lovely webinars. And next up, so journey through my portfolio, is Footballers' Wives. Now, the connection with Footballers' Wives here is Series 5, which is around about 2005. Joan Collins came into the series, and thank you. Yes, it is a lot to talk about, talking about a lot of people I've worked with, and just making sure everybody gets a shout out. So if there's anybody I don't mention, I'm very sorry, but I'll try and mention you in the comments later. So I had the wonderful Jan Archibald came to help me do work with Joan. She was Joan's personal at the time, which was just amazing. And I loved having Jan in. She was just in for the 2 weeks at the end of Series 5. And we kept in touch over the years, and she became so busy with her film work, and she's won Oscars and amazing awards, and she is just the most brilliant hairdresser. She's got just such an amazing eye for detail and colour. And when we came around to film Gavin and Stacey, and she was my go-to person, because Alison Steadman had her hair cut quite short, and we needed a back piece for Alison, because James and Ruth both said, well, Pamela has to have, the long hair, the sort of Essex look. So I went to Jan, and she made me the most amazing back piece for Alison. It's just incredible. I went to her and I said, Jan, I really need, I've got Alison, and she was like, oh, yeah, that sounds really good. And she says, well, come and have a look through my stock. She's at Hairworks near London Bridge, I think it is. Anyway, just Blackfriars Bridge, that's where she is. And she's absolutely wonderful. She says, if I don't have it, I'll make it. So that was just so kind of her, and she did me a make for hire, which is an amazing thing for a wig maker to do for you, because if you'd made that piece, you know, to buy for the production, it would have been very, very expensive. So so obviously you're not going to be able to make the characters look exactly as the same as they did, you know, after the series. So she wanted to keep the people very real, very kind of natural looking. And just like they were established, and the original designer Kate Roberts did such an amazing job at creating the characters to do straight away. It was just quite easy to pick up, but also when you return, or you get given this iconic series to bring back 10 years later, you are sort of thinking like, oh gosh, you know, the pressure on it, and you know it's going to be on Christmas Day, and you're thinking, gosh, this, you know, I've just got, this has all got to be right. And also, I'd worked with so many of the guys over the years. I've obviously started on Fat Friends with Ruth and James and Alison, and then met Matt, and he stayed a friend all throughout the years up to when we came back again. And then in 2012, yes, I did the job Bad Sugar, which was sort of a pilot based on this dysfunctional family. So you've got Kevin Novak, you've got Peter Serafinovich, you've got Sharon Horgan, you've got David Bradley, you've got Olivia Colman, you've got Julia Davis, Derek Riddell, and Reece Shearsmith. So you just kind of go, oh my god. And I think my friend Susie was supposed to be doing this, and then suddenly she couldn't do it. So she said the dates changed, and she said, oh, I've got this pilot to do. Anyway, amazing. So this is the first time I worked with Julia, who is just the most incredible actress, comedian. She has such an eye for character and what she needed and what she wanted. So we went through this big bag of wigs, as you often do at tests and kind of screen tests, and she knew exactly what she wanted. But this was we shot this really fast over about a week, 5 days, and it never went to a series because I don't think they could ever have got all of these people back for the amount of time that they needed to film it. And again, here's some pictures: Julia, Olivia, Sharon, and then at the end they all came back as different characters, and we literally shot this at the end of an afternoon. And I had again, bus full of wigs. We kind of guessed what we were going to do, so that Sharon, Olivia, Julia, and they had to kind of be like these American cousins. So they all ended up having this complete makeover, and I think we just literally turned them around in half an hour from this into these people. Luckily we had hats and glasses, and that was a big beehive, and I had them all prepped, but literally it was a case of one on, one off, one on, off, one off. And often when you're working in comedy, that's often the way, is that you're kind of generically kind of going through a script and like trying to preempt stuff all the time, because you can always say, well, you know, that might happen this day and all the rest of it. So it's all about being very prepared for these jobs and making sure that you've got everything sort of lined up. And then in 2011, I was reunited with Alison Steadman, and the first time I worked with the lovely Larry Lamb. And again, we've got some amazing people. And actually, Zoe here is married to the brother of Vicky Swift, who was our production manager on Footballers' Wives. So I might remember talking about when I did my Footballers' Wives live, which is kind of it's all connected. The people you know, it's so amazing, the people that keep popping backwards and forwards in your career. Ashley Jensen here as well. This was just a wonderful cast, and had the wonderful Nadine working on this with me, and the wonderful Amy Brand, who's worked on me on so many jobs, and she's just the most amazing right-hand person to have on a job. She's so brilliant. So we filmed this in Coventry. Debbie Isaac was the director, who was just incredible. And yeah, it snowed practically all the time. We're in Coventry. That's what I have to remember about this job. And again, Alison had to swap backwards and forwards to wigs, and lovely Celia Imrie here as well. Just a wonderful job. And anybody who's worked with the legend that is Larry Lamb, he decided to grow a beard for this part. But again, small world, and obviously plays Mick in Gavin and Stacey. But this was a really, really lovely job to do. Just went for one series on ITV. It often happens that way. Some jobs sort of seem to go on, some others don't. So that was kind of where we're up to now with the path of Gavin and Stacey. So I'm going to start to talk about the actual process. So back in April last year, 2019, I got this email from Ruth, and I'd just been for an interview for a job in Manchester for a kids show, and Ruth says, "Oh, are you free sort of like July time? I'm doing this thing in Cardiff for a couple of weeks." I said, "Oh yeah, it's lovely to hear from you." Blah blah blah. I didn't know what it was, and I said, "I've just met for something else, so I'm going to find out if they want me to do it, and you know, I think I'm going to hear on Monday, and I think they want me to do it, but I'd really like to work with you." So I hadn't accepted the other job. And then she said, "Oh, Alison's in it as well." And I said, "Okay," because she knows me and Alison are really good friends and stayed in touch. So I said, "Oh, okay." And I just kind of then sort of thought, I've really got to do Ruth's job. I mean, I don't care. I mean, my mum's family are Welsh, and I've got cousins in Cardiff, and I'm thinking I'm going to make this work because I really would love to work with Ruth again. So I kind of turned down, or I kind of said I wasn't available for the other job because something else had come through, and I actually accepted the job with Ruth without knowing exactly what it was. So it was only sort of 3 or 4 emails down the road that she actually told me that it was the Gavin and Stacey Christmas Special. So and I had to then approach crew without telling them what it was. So this is back in April, and we didn't start filming until July the 12th. So I kind of kept all this quiet from everybody, and I'm sorry everybody that I said I was in Cardiff doing something random. I couldn't really say to anybody what I was doing because it was all hush hush. It was always, and until it was announced, I couldn't actually say anything about it. So obviously, all of this thing is, you know, you've got to keep it completely under wraps. You've got to keep it so secret because it's just so important. And reading the script, it was just pure magic to see what Ruth and James had created, and it was just a wonderful read. And obviously chose local crew, Nick Tully and lovely Jess, who was the trainee as well. She was lovely, and I got local crew to help me out on the days. So here we are now. I had to design a new tattoo for Ruth, which was good fun. Obviously Neil the baby, now 10. They used one of the original babies, Oscar, in the new series, so they brought him back, which was amazing. So my first process with creating the tattoo was, we wanted to have Neil, and the birth date was 08/08/08, and I got all the tattoos made by Dave Stoneman from Makeup, and he designed or kind of created the original dragon tattoos, and she's got some Chinese symbols on her back, and she's got an anklet of kind of like thorns and things. But anyway, this was a new tattoo which ended up on her forearm, which you don't see very often. But what I did do was I got an app called Tattoo You. So I managed to kind of create the Neil and then kind of find a picture and kind of superimpose it onto where I thought it was going to be. It was James's decision actually to have it on the forearm, because he thought that was kind of more kind of modern. But also what Dave did for me, which he also did for the dragon tattoo, was kind of age it slightly. So we decided that this one may have been done when he was like 1 or 2 or something. So it was just a fairly old tattoo. So it's a really interesting way of kind of working out how you do your tattoos, really, to just work out the age of it. And like I say, Dave Stoneman was amazing at kind of thinking about how to kind of age the tattoo. So the dragon was like 10 years older, so the colours had got a little bit deeper, a little bit more faded. So that was a really great process, and I'm so glad that I had him to help me with that. And then in the very last scene, we have the amazing Kyle Lima, who's just fabulous. We had to design a tattoo that was a cross between Frank Spencer, Che Guevara and Des Lynam, and it was supposed to be really rubbish. So sometimes it's quite hard to do things which are supposed to look really bad. So this is kind of what it's based on, this quite famous meme about this guy wanting this unicorn and this kind of obviously terrible drawing. So here's Kyle wanting Che Guevara tattoo, and Nessa has many jobs. She's been a lifeguard, she's been a fortune teller, she's been Father Christmas, she's a carol singer in the Christmas special. But anyway, so my mood board was very much sort of, you know, Che Guevara, Frank Spencer, Des Lynam, and also Nessa says in the series that she can't do eyes very well, so the tattoo also have to have shades on it. So basically, I kind of created six tattoos because this had to be okayed by producers, BBC, James and Ruth. You know, so it had to really kind of try and cover. So I drew this one, and this was the one that everybody liked, and it kind of looks a bit more like Bobby Ball, really, from Cannonball. But anyway, that's how it ended up. And true to form, you know, you put it on hours before it's needed, and then the actor sits around, and by the time he got down, it had all rubbed off. So had to sort of put him in the easy up and kind of redo the tattoo. So anyway, it was all fine. But this was actually the last day of filming, and it was great. It was great fun to do, and we just laughed all the time. I mean, we had the hottest 3 weeks in Barry. It was amazing. We had our read through in London, sort of the week before the 12th, no, a couple of weeks before the 12th. That's right. And then I had a couple of weeks off. And somebody's saying, "Oh, Lisa's very good bad tattoo." Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to do something bad. And here's actually one of the tattoos. You kind of peel it off, and Dave's tattoos are really sticky, and they really stick on really well. And we kind of found a way of kind of sometimes putting a layer of Prozaid on first was quite good. So this is one of the original tattoos. Ruth's got all the dragons and all the other symbols and everything. But yeah, I kept hold of these. Who knows? There's no word of another series of Gavin and Stacey. Sorry, there's no plans. I hope they do some, because it was left on such an amazing high that you'd really hope they would come back and do more. But when we started filming in July, it was, like I say, the hottest 3 weeks in Barry, and the cast were in like Christmas jumpers and trying to keep them cool. I got through so many fans. Actually, I've got one of them here. This is what I ended up using in the end. It's afraid it's from Amazon, which was kind of the best place to get it at the time. But it's got 5 speeds, and it's rechargeable. So I found that those fans worked really, really well. And since then, I've seen fans which are, I think Christine Allsop had one actually. She had one on a neck thing which had 2 fans here. But literally it was really hot, and we were in the studio, and obviously lighting, and it was really, really hot week. But the residents of Barry just welcomed us back with open arms. This was on the fridge in the Gavin and Stacey house, which is on Trinity Street. Welcome back, and obviously they've used a W for an E because they'd run out of E's. And then the cupcakes with the characters' names on, and these were all the crowds that used to follow us. And I'd never been on a shoot like it. It was like being with like a boy band or something. And the cast are just absolutely amazing. They're all stopping for selfies. This is us trying to leave the pub set, literally in one of the people carriers. We're just surrounded by people all the time. And one day, Ruth and James hired an ice cream van for the whole of the, you know, for everyone to have an ice cream that had come to watch. And obviously we had to keep everything very, very quiet for the night shots, because we are working on a residential filming street. So here are a few behind the scenes. This is the very first day I met up with Alison to go for that wig fitting with Jan Archibald. So those of you that are joining, I was just going to say that I'd worked with Jan back in the day with Joan Collins, and she made this back piece for Alison. So that was the very first thing that I did. So we needed time to obviously get that made for the shoot. So anybody that's planning to use a wig on somebody that's from scratch, then you should leave, you know, a good month, really, even if longer if you can, to kind of have that made. This was me and Matt on the first night shoot. This was never actually seen on the screen, but he decided he'd dress up and wear it. It's got Brussels sprouts on it, by the way. Christmas in July, and he just went round Barry in this suit, and obviously he changed for this scene. But this is one of my favourite scenes that Joe and Matt did. Hadn't worked with Joe before, but I worked with her husband on a police series called Holby Blue, the lovely James, and got on so well with Joe. She's such a lovely. All of the cast, Gavin and Stacey, just absolutely gorgeous, lovely people. And this is the wonderful Chris Gernon, who is a director who's directed all of the Gavin and Stacey's. She's just a wonderful director. So much love and time. Just such a lovely time working. And Rob Wilford, obviously there. And this is us, our original Fat Friends gang. James, Ruth, Alison and myself. So I just said, I don't often, I mean, there's going to be a few selfies in here because it was just such a special time because we were reunited, and this was like makeup mirror at the back. So we were doing, I always had a makeup mirror on set to kind of do checks, which quite often you'll find that you can't go back to the makeup van for checks. So it was just an opportunity because we obviously worked together 20 years ago. So it was nice to have that reunion, which was really good. And here's some of the people who are behind the scenes in our makeup van. This was January, which was not actually the scene for January, but Amanda Foster, big up to Holby Blue, and much love Andy. Oh, we loved Holby Blue, such a good team on that as well. Rob Brydon's here. Rob Brydon's at the bottom. Here he is in our makeup van with Joe and the lovely Babs, who I've worked with many times in Cardiff. Babs Roberts. We've done a lot of live stuff. She's got me on her team, and we did To Provide All People, which you might have seen on my grid recently with the NHS 70. Lovely Jane Tyler and Kat, Babs and Steve and Kerry and Nick, and this is us again. Ruth dressed up as a carol singer, and it was just amazing. We just had to find these fake sideburns from a joke shop, which is kind of hard, kind of trying to find options, because when you are doing comedy, sort of there are still processes going on with kind of costumes, and lovely Sian, who did the costumes on Gavin and Stacey. What a lovely team that was as well, with such a lovely cast and crew on Gavin and Stacey. And here are some of my favourite pictures. Obviously we did all these, and this was lovely with amazing Tom Jackson photography, who I've worked with loads of times in the past. We did a Miss World shoot together before this. He was on my last pilot just before lockdown with Greg Davis, which the producer Sarah got me onto after me working with her on Gavin and Stacey. So it's just such a small world. That's all I can keep on stressing, is that, you know, from Queer Folk to Fat Friends to Footballers' Wives to 20 Things Before You 30 and later, and there's so many connections in this industry. And just if anyone's watching who's starting out in the business, it's just really important to keep in touch with everybody and just be the best person you can be on set. So this was again a cast photo, so it's a little bit shiny on the lights, but yeah, here's our full cast. Again, really hot day. We can't stress how hot it was. Again, a lovely picture of Matt and James by Tom Jackson. This is probably one of my favourite pictures that we've done from them. It's just so brilliant. And then so we filmed the shoot. We started on night shoots actually. The first day was like from 2 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning, and we literally did the first week in nights, because obviously you're matching, sort of trying to make July look like December. So the hours were quite weird actually. We did 2 6-day weeks and a 5-day week, and we literally did a whole first week was all nights, and then I think we went back to nights towards the end, because we were trying to keep that very sort of famous scene of Ruth proposing to James at the end. So that was so shrouded in secrecy. We literally had boards positioned all around them so that nobody could see. But obviously there's people hanging out of windows, there's paparazzi following the shoot all the time. But it's one of those jobs where you've just got to keep everything under wraps. And if ever you get given any confidential documents, always kind of, if it's call sheets or sides or anything, you know, you will probably have your name on it. So just a tip, just to keep everything safe and sound and under lock and key. But we also had the cover of the Radio Times before the Christmas one, which has always been like a sort of like a bit of a goal of mine to have the Radio Times cover. I've had one before with Holby Blue actually, funny enough. So hi Andy and Amanda, I know you're watching. You have a bit of reunion with Sian on the live, which is great. It's been so nice to have everybody joining me for this. Yeah, so Radio Times cover, which was a really good sign that that the show was going to do really well. And of course it did. It was watched by over 11 million people, and I think it's up to 18.4 now, which is quite incredible. And we had a screening in London, quite close to Soho, and then Ruth and James at the end of the shoot had given us all a special Gavin and Stacey candle to light on Christmas Day, to just wish the show good luck. And obviously it worked because the show was just amazing, and it just did so well. I'm very, very proud to be a part of it, and thank you. You know, Ruth knows I'm doing this tonight. She said, "Oh yeah, please, you know, go ahead, and you know, do you need any photos?" I said, "I've got plenty of photos from the job." It's lovely to have kept in touch with her. And one of the last things we did before lockdown was the National Television Awards. So I got Ruth and Rob ready for their night off, and their night out rather, and they won the Impact Award for Gavin and Stacey, which was recognising, you know, the viewing figures, because it was the apart from sport, it was the highest viewed programme for the last decade. So it was a huge event, really. I think the other Impact Awards had been Aidan Turner being topless in Poldark. So there we go, in good company there. So that's about it for my story for Gavin and Stacey. But I promised people at the beginning of this that I was going to share some of the books that I use in my research. And first of all, before I move on to my books, I want to just mention some of the products that were sent to me during Gavin and Stacey. Oh, Malibu, I really want Gavin. Yes, I would love Gavin and Stacey to come back, but there's no word about that at the moment. But just wanted to mention MAC Cosmetics, who have supported me from the very beginning, from the early days of Footballers' Wives, when Dean Rod used to come and help me on those. Dermalogica, the wonderful Abigail Cox, Abigail Siegel, as most people know her, from Dermalogica and Freedom PR. She has been such an amazing support for me, which has been amazing. Lauren from NYX, Charlotte Tilbury, who sent a lot of products for me, Paul Mitchell, Tina there. They have been amazing, Paul Mitchell, and they're cruelty-free hair products, which are quite hard to find. And they've supported me from the get-go of my career. They've been just absolutely amazing. My lovely friend Amy Hyatt, who is part of Dr. Organic, who I originally worked with on Joan Collins' Timeless Beauty. She was so supportive. Ruth, really a big fan of Dr. Organic. Dapper Dan sent as well. And also a big shout out to Dave Stoneman at Makeup, who was just so supportive over getting all the tattoos to me on time. So I've got to say a big thanks to those. Next, I want to say thank you to all of my wonderful guests that have joined me on the lives, who have been amazing. So I'm just going to read these out so I don't miss anybody. Kamanza last week for doing the Afro Media Makeup course. Thank you so much, everybody. So many people have given me so many lovely feedback, and thank you to everybody who shared the stories about the talks. So Kamanza, Maddie, Marcia, Kate, Joseph Cognac, Phyllis Cohen, Sean Miller, Joyce Connor, Tally Bookbinder and Neil Hughes. Thank you so much for being part of these lives, because I will bring them back at some point when we feel, but I feel like people are sort of starting to feel like the need to go back to work, and I feel this has been very much part of the lockdown experience. And thank you for joining me. It's really been lovely to connect with people over this time. So I'm just going to run through some things I thought I was going to find at the time but didn't. This was my very first makeup card, which was very much the way we worked in Manchester, which was makeup, hair and styling. This is going to be back to front, by the way. But I was with a makeup agency called Marco Rosala, and this was the lovely Claire and Nicola for this. And we did styling as well. Ian Turner was the very first photographer who ever gave me a break in Manchester. So it was really important for me to have him on my card and credit him. So if you're ever doing jobs and work, you've got to please credit everybody on social media. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Joyce. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me too. I've got loads of books to go through as well. So if anybody's interested in the books I use, I'm not going to bombard you with too many, because I know that Nadia Stacey's been doing some amazing book posts, but I don't want to break the bank from you. And a lot of my Lucy, a lot of my lives are still on IGTV. Some of them I saved, some of them I wanted to leave the artists to sort of do others with other people. So I didn't want to keep everybody sort of suspended in sort of my IGTV. And also, hopefully, as time goes on, you know, hopefully Joyce will come back and Phyllis and Sean, and we can, you know, pick up maybe a few months down the line and just say hi, you know, if you're up to anything special. Anyway, so I'll go through the books that I found. This one, Weatherfield Life, this is all going to be back to front, by the way, I expect, from thing, by Darren Little. It's actually, I think those of you that will have listened to my first Makeup and Me, I'd say that Coronation Street was the reason I moved to Manchester, and I've been watching an awful lot of, oh, thank you, Sean, it'd be lovely. Iron Cananza, yes, please come back and talk. If you've got anything going on, just give me a shout and we can do a quick live. Doesn't have to be an hour, 15 minutes or whatever, just to catch up. It would be really lovely. But I do understand everyone's going to be getting quite busy. And so anyway, this is just like a book. It's just you know, northern style. You know, and there's Anne Reid when she was Valerie Tatlock, but just a really interesting. It dates from 1902 to 1992. So it gives the kind of story behind Coronation Street, and I think these kind of TV reference books are quite useful. Obviously, they're all characters, but it does kind of show kind of a history of how people looked in the past. But I've been watching so much old black and white Coronation Street on lockdown. It's just fascinating. It's just amazing. Another book I really like is War Paint, Helena Rubinstein and Elizabeth Arden. It's a really interesting story about these two makeup houses and how they kind of clashed and got on with each other. So that's a really interesting history book. And this, I think, is from my grandmother's house. It's the Stars Films of 1937. Yes, I'll put them on the page. I'll do a post. I'll do a book post. I'll put them all in. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be available because you're going to have to hunt these out when it's safe to do so, or look on eBay. But these film annuals are amazing. I'll just open up a couple of pages that I've marked without destroying the book. Anyway, here we go. Just some photos. So you've got these kind of coloured photos, which is amazing. Just great references. Obviously, not so much real people, but certainly the look at the time. But this one. William Powell with a moustache. That's really good. There's a really nice one here. Claudette Colbert. Just amazing kind of references, really, just for film and TV. But again, check out charity shops and all those kind of places. This one is another one of my favourites, which I'm sure some of you have got, which is Leading Ladies. This is an amazing book. Again, I think this is one of my favourites. Of trying to make sure the book doesn't fall apart. Lana Turner. Yeah, just amazing black and white reference book. Really love that. I also find costume books really handy for just silhouettes and things. So this is the Historical Encyclopedia of Costume. Again, this has just got kind of lots of plates of kind of quite, like medieval and older kind of styles, which is really useful for kind of just sort of establishing looks, which is really useful. And what else have I got here? I think they're all going to fall off in a minute. Here we go. Again, another 1950s look. Mike Brown. Yeah, I'll put these on my Instagram if you want me to. Yeah, it's kind of nice little kind of things about setting hair and things like that. Just really useful kind of reference. And this book was bought for me by Joan Collins, which is really lovely. She's got me some lovely things over the years. I mean, having met her on Footballers' Wives and then having that connection with Jan, I mean, what I didn't go on to say was after Jan got busy, I'm still working with Joan sort of 15 years later. And she just wrote in it for me, darling, didn't everybody look fabulous in this book? And she's written a foreword in this, and it's Hollywood Unseen, photographs from the John Corby Foundation. And I'll just say in here now, there's a couple of pictures. Here's Joan on the phone, which is an amazing picture. They're very much sort of behind the scenes pictures, sort of the ones you wouldn't normally see, I think. That's why it's called Hollywood Unseen, I guess. But just amazing. I've tried to mark all these. And here's Joan playing cricket with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, which is amazing. Anyway, that's Makeup Folk. We love books. And last but not least, I've got to mention the amazing Phyllis Cohen. And this was the book I meant to have, but didn't have on the day. But here we are, Makeup by Quant. So this is quite a hard book to show actually, because what she's done is she's done like the face, and then she's done like a makeup chart here. So that was the work of the wonderful Phyllis Cohen, who was my guest a few weeks ago, which was a real treat to speak to her. So that's all I've got to show you this evening. I've got lots of other books, but I'll put those on my feed. But thank you everybody. If there's any more, I don't think there's any more questions. I think it's just lots of people saying lovely things. Thank you so much for joining me on these lives. It's been wonderful to go through all the different periods of my kind of career and just kind of focus on like the people that have made it very special and the lovely things I've been able to do. I'm sure I'll be back doing like bits and bobs, you know, here and there. But that's the last makeup of me for the time being. And thank you to everybody again who joined me for watching the lives and taking part of the lives, and wishing everybody a very, very safe ease out of lockdown, and hope everybody stays well and hopefully be able to see you soon in real life. But for now, I'll sign off and say take good care. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you. Bye.